Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With fishingbooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. Fishingbooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to fishingbooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today.
This message is brought to you by Apple Card. Shave ice by the beach, a trip to the state fair, and a throwback flick at the local drive-in. They're more than just items to check off the summer bucket list. They're also opportunities to earn 2% daily cash back when you use your Apple Card with Apple Pay. Apply for Apple Card now and use in-minutes with Apple Pay. Subject to credit approval. Apple Card is issued by Goldman Sachs Bank USA, Salt Lake City branch. Terms and more at applecard.com.
All right, welcome back to the Survival and Basic Badass Podcast, Kevin and Chuck. Today, well, we're going to talk about underground bunkers and the apocalypse. I actually visited one, and we have some cool stories. So the thing is, I don't know, preppers and bunkers seem to go hand in hand. There's a lot of threats, nuclear disaster, there's hurricanes, there's tornadoes, there's a lot of things. Believe it or not, even earthquakes. Underground is not necessarily the worst thing. The ground, the layers, different, absorb a little bit, but we'll talk about it. We'll get into it. I'm not saying go underground for an earthquake. I'm just saying there are some, it's not as horrible as you think. So anyway, there's a lot of different threats out there and things that you might want to, be a little protected from, have some real shelter. There's that show Doomsday Preppers. They have a lot of people who build bunkers, and there's all types.
Let's talk about some of the types of bunkers.
All right.
So we'll go through some of the basic ones. Trench bunkers. I think we're all kind of familiar with that sort of stuff. That's like World War I. That's getting down below the ground level. Trying to keep from getting hit by bullets and small arms fire and artillery and things like that. Yep. And it's you're basically digging a hole, basically getting below the ground level and getting out of the way of stuff. And there's pillbox bunkers. And if you've ever watched a World War II movie, you kind of know what that is. It's just a small fortified structure. It's a couple inches of concrete, little box with some holes so you can look out and see what's going on around you.
No, you were a CB. Were you trained in building pillbox bunkers? Did you guys bring in your own cinder blocks or what happened here?
No. I actually, the group I was with was basically loading and offloading construction equipment off and on to beaches. All right. So we didn't build a whole lot of stuff. We were just equipment movers.
So when it says we fight, we build, it was more like, well, we'll show up and help you start the truck.
We'll bring the backup. Yeah. No, there were guys that were equipment operators. I was not that guy though.
Gotcha.
Then there's industrial bunkers. Now these are a little bit more intricate. This is you see these a lot. Were being built a lot in Europe during World War II. Okay. They're basically manufacturing places that they're designed to they were camouflaged and designed to withstand aerial bombardment. Basically planes dropping stuff on it. A lot of times they would put camouflage it, like it looked like just regular, ground grass and stuff like that. So that, you wouldn't really be able to spot it from the air.
Right.
And then there's fallout bunkers. And this is kind of what we were talking about when we were doing the podcast, right? So fallout it's designed to protect from mechanical and thermal effects of a nuclear explosion and radioactive fallout after, allowing them to survive for a period of time deemed sufficient to allow them to safely escape. So, we'll talk about that a little bit, but fallout, you can't just, the blast goes off and then, you got to wait out the radiation a little bit, with nukes. So it's a little bit more tricky. And, there aren't very many bunkers that are going to withstand a direct hit from a nuke, but there's some. There's some.
And that's, I mean, I remember them advertising that, but I didn't know how true that would really be. So I was just looking while you were talking, I just pulled up some bunker buster bomb stuff. And I was looking, I was like, I wonder how good they really are,
Right.
And believe it or not, they're saying, now, again, these are not nukes. These are designed to attack bunkers.
Mm-hmm.
But they said 40 meters through moderate rock.
Right.
That's pretty damn impressive.
That's pretty damn deep. Now, I remember they were firing those off. Remember when we were looking for Osama bin Laden in Afghanistan? They had all those caves built. And
right.
Even with the bunker busters, they couldn't get to all of them. Some of them had.
Yeah, you don't know where. And and you have little tunnels that go off in the,
Yeah.
Like I might get you here, but
is under an entire mountain,
Right.
You probably have a better than not chance of surviving a direct hit.
It's like whack-a-mole, right? You got to wait till they pop their head and then.
Yeah. Now, Switzerland has kind of like a interesting situation. They basically build road tunnels through the mountains there. Switzerland's a very mountainous country.
Yeah.
And they basically build road tunnels through the mountains, and those are the fallout. They're designed for fallout shelters as well. So they can be closed off. And they said, tens of thousands of people can fit in these tunnels, all over the country.
It's weird. China and Russia have tons of fallout shelters that they can go to. And like they're massive and ventilation and, floors deep, especially around Moscow and, places that they assume would be, direct targets kind of thing.
Right.
And I mean, deep. I mean, I know we talk about, under the Pentagon or under the White House, whatever, but they actually have a lot of citizen ready bunkers. I guess if you plan on pissing people off, you got to prepare a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So you'd think somebody like me, my whole backyard should be a bunker. I mean, I should probably build something near work, It's...
Yeah. Now I got so let's go through like some of the basics that you need for a fallout bunker.
Yeah.
So they say 10 times the thickness of any quantity of material capable of cutting gamma ray exposure in half. So it'd be 10 times. These are list of things here. 1/2 inch of lead. So obviously 5 inches of lead. 2.5 inches of concrete.
Much at all. Okay.
Yeah. 3.5 inches of packed earth. So that surprises me that it was only 3.5 inches is
a packed earth versus the lead.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's 10 times that, but it's still, it's still pretty light.
Yeah. No, that's kind of crazy, actually.
That's just to cut down on fallout, though. That's not going to protect you from, from direct hits.
All right.
Now you got
Kevin. If somebody drops a nuclear bomb on me, though, I mean, really, how prepared can you really be? I mean,
I checked it out. There's a map you can go and look at and see who's going to make it and who isn't going to make it in the United States. They can't turn the whole country into rubble.
Can't they?
They kind of can.
Yeah,
but
that's what I thought.
I'm in a medium level radiation area.
Okay.
So not going to get bombed, but I'm going to be, in my basement for 2 weeks,
right.
Sheltering in place at Min. So you want to take a look at that map and see what's going on. If you live in New York City or Washington, D.C., that's it, dude. That's a wrap.
No, party's over.
Party's over.
Oh, that's bad. Now, you dug deep. You read a book on bunkers, right?
Yeah, I did read a book on bunkers, and a lot of them are focused on location. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So specifically, they're out of the way. They're in these areas that are going to, not get a lot of radiation from full scale nuclear.
Okay.
And that was kind of the main thing, was the location, right? And I saw a lot of people. They had like pictures. They had like, it was basically just a regular house built out of poured concrete. Not cinder blocks, but poured concrete.
Right.
Slabs. And what they do is they pour the walls, the foundation, the walls, and then they just pour a slab with rebar in it, and they pick it up with a crane and just set it on top,
Okay.
So a lot of the ones that I saw were old, like munitions factories and old, like,
well, that's it. If the government already built this place, why would we, reinvent the wheel? That's the thing. It's already there.
Right. The trick is like, how comfortable do you want to be? That's really what it comes down to. You can get in a concrete box with no windows and sit in the dark and, pee in a jar for a month, and that's fine. But, it doesn't sound like a lot of fun. You're not going to be living the high life down there.
That's it. I mean, you can be Cloverfield, or you can be, I guess that he's got it a little bit rough. And then there was that movie with Brendan Fraser.
Oh yeah, they're living the high life down there.
They were living the high life, cocktails, and
yep.
I'll get to the bottom of it. You keep going. Yeah,
it was Christopher Walken was the dad in that. I thought that. That was a good movie. Yeah. So one of the main things you want to think about when you're designing your own bunker, climate control, right? So if it's perfectly sealed, you're just going to eventually suffocate. You're eventually going to asphyxiate. So you have to have some air moving through your bunker, but you don't want to be pumping in all the fallout radiation air. So I looked into it. There's a Kearney air pump, which is the basic run of the mill. That's the standard, and it only has a small filter. And the reason is that the small, fine dust particles that are radioactive aren't going to have a lot of effect on it. Blast from the Past is the name of the movie. You should check. I should rewatch that movie.
It was a good movie. It was entertaining.
Where was that? So yeah. So you want a basic air pump that's moving air into the thing, running through a filter that's just going to filter out the larger particles.
Right.
And then, that's basically it. You're going to have it so that the Kearney air pump basically has slats that open up when you turn the fan on and then slam shut, once you turn the fan off. So it's not always bringing air in. Yeah. I mean, I see these types of pumps all the time in like places where they store chemicals,
Okay.
You turn it on and air blows out, but it's, if it's the dead of winter, you don't want that, that vent open all the time, just when you're in there.
You can talk, you can look up smoke filters and different things. It depends what you want. I mean, obviously a nuclear disaster, hopefully there's not going to be, tons of smoke. Hopefully you're not in the middle of a wildfire caused by it or whatever. I mean, again, you can prepare for what you can prepare for.
Right.
But you do need to get ventilation, and even as much as like a sheet could, stop a lot in front of your vent as far as nuclear particles and things like that.
Right.
But so anyway, FEMA put out a book on actually building underground bunkers and safe rooms. And they talk about ventilation and about how to put the pipe in and, the way it should be structured. But basically they actually give a list, and I'll put a link in the show notes to the book, but they put in, like, if you have one person, you probably need 4-inch pipe and you need 2 pipes for ventilation. If you have 4 people, you need 8-inch pipe and 3 pipes. So that it dramatically, you need some ventilation. And it is something to think about that, that you're going to have to plan for. The FEMA book where I got that list was called Taking Shelter from the Storm. They have a building or installing safe rooms for your home. So that's, something you might want to check out. I'll put a link, like I said, in the show notes so you guys can, hey, if the government's going to put it together and give it to you for free. However, when you build that shelter, the government's going to think you're crazy and put you on a list. So it's kind of an enigma there. But
yeah, well, I mean, whatever. One of the ones that I was in was, it was basically a big concrete box. And it had a metal hatch on the top and with a ladder that goes down. And
Kevin, were you in the sewer?
No. Oh, the only real ventilation they had was, it was basically a 4-inch pipe like you're talking about that went up and did a gooseneck. So it was facing 100%. Down with a screen on it,
Yeah.
And, it did not seem like a fun place that I wanted to hang out, for an extended period of time. But I mean, whatever, maybe you got to set up a library down there or something,
Exactly. You got to find a way to pass the time. I read a book a while back called the $50 and Up Underground House Book. And Mike Oler, I think he's passed on since he wrote the book. But anyway, he did a book on building underground. He did underground houses. And I got to say, if you're the do-it-yourself guy, this book is all day the right thing. Now, we'll talk about different ones you can buy and different things you can do, but he builds it. Now, I've seen some people revisit it and try and recreate these. I have not tried to build one of these, although it's in my dream plans. I'm just not there. And people are saying it's more like if you take the corrections that he's noted and said, hey, I made a mistake, do this, it's kind of becomes the like $500 underground house. But in today's world, that ain't bad.
No,
that's not bad. Anyway, one of the things I wanted to mention that you were talking about is because you were just saying that it's not a comfortable or happy place to be.
Right.
And the trade-off is, do you want light or do you want protection? And being able, like everybody's complaint about the underground website or underground house, he had a website or a forum, and everybody's like, yeah, but it's so gloom and doom and you're just in a cave, and it's dark and we hated it and we needed some kind of daylight getting in there. I do feel like you could maybe find a way to like recreate sunlight that, do things, but it's not good. You need one of those big flat LED TVs that look like a window, like, oh, I'm looking outside. But I don't know what the right answer is for that. But the trade-off of how do I not get water in there, yet I get daylight and I get the protection. And because the more exposed you are, the more, rain. And turns out when you dig a hole, you wouldn't believe, but when it rains, that's where the water goes.
That's where the water goes.
The hole. It goes in the hole. When they make bathtubs, when they want to get rid of the water, they put a hole in the bottom. That's how holes work. And that's where water wants to go. So it's all about sealing that up and closing it. And so anywhere you're going to get light. Now, I know you're saying, well, water doesn't go through glass, Chuck. Well, that's true.
It goes through the walls, though.
Then do you have, it doesn't end well. So just something to think about. Anyway, if you're interested in the do-it-yourself kind of thing, like I said, that, $50 and up book is awesome and awesome ideas. His big thing is like terraces, and he does the kind of gooseneck ventilation like you were talking about. But having terraces in front of it, kind of like up to a regular level, and then having the roof come up over it, over the terraced area. And believe it or not, one of his big problems was he kept talking about how bears kept trying to come freaking take over his house. He's like, I'd go out and there'd be a bear, like he talks about like 3 different times he's come home to bears in the book. It was pretty crazy. But so actually, you guys, we talk about how, I actually spent the night in a bunker one time, and that's the thing. It was actually like an old bear cave that somebody had converted into a bunker, and it was pretty sketchy. It was in a hillside, and it had it had been dug out by a bear, and then a guy found it. The bear had moved on. I think usually they like get too big for the hole and they give up on it or whatever. And then he had dug it out, more, and cleaned out all the crap and the piss and the, but this like had a reasonable, I'd say like 3 foot by 3 foot entrance, like a 3-foot diameter circle. And he had, run-ins, just some cots on like a dirt floor, and he'd shored it up with some boards. Basically, his explanation was keeping the dirt and the whatever from, falling on your head. But at no point is that a fun time that you want to hang out and stay there, and it's just gloom and doom. But he's like, but it's secret. And it's, that's the thing. Like, I've read some prepper books, and, that's the people who last are the ones who nobody knows you're there. That's the whole thing. But can't have fires, can't have, all that stuff just gives away. So it's tough. But I don't know. Back to this book. Like, what other ideas did they have in yours? In the one you read, what was it called?
It was called Bunker: What It Takes to Survive the Apocalypse. Yeah. So there's a lot of these. A lot of them were companies were building these. You could buy the package, and they would come and set it up. Basically what they would do is excavate a big hole and pour a concrete pad, and then they would bring in a crane and set like these metal rooms and just kind of weld them together, and then build the stairs going up, and you could build whatever you wanted. The access point, you want to be able to open the door in. You know what I mean? Because if a bunch of shit explodes all around you and you're trying to get out and you got to push the door and there's shit in front of it, you're fucked. You know? So you want to be able to open the door in, and then you can kind of get yourself out of there if there's something happening. But a lot of people were building like small sheds over the door, so it looked like a tool shed. And you go inside, and then there's a door, down to the bunker.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, that's one of the things. Like, even one of the prepper books, I think it was like, there's a series, Days of Noah and then Days of Elijah. And in the second half, they end up like hiding out in a cave, and there's a big earthquake, and they're good in the cave, but it ends up like blocking the entrance, and they're digging out, and like, big rocks had shifted, and they're like trying to break apart giant rocks. And of course, when you don't know how far the rocks go on the outside, did a giant meteor hit right there that's, 8 feet diameter, or what am I chipping through here?
500 tons of rock between you and the exit. Yeah.
Right. Whereas it turned out if you went 3 feet to the left, you might have been fine, but you don't know. And that could be very overwhelming. So at least having the door open in, at least not being able to, having to break through your own door is not your biggest obstacle. So that's probably pretty cool. It sounds smart. One of the things I always hear people talk about is Connex boxes and burying those. But one of the tricks you got to remember is the roof of that and how much dirt weighs are not, because I know you're thinking, well, I've seen ships and they stack those boxes really high, but they stack them on the frame on the outside, right? You have that square rectangle frame, and then frame to frame, they go up high. But the actual sheet metal roof, dirt weighs a lot, and you got to think about it. But if you put beams over it, and, it can be built properly.
Yeah. And the walls, same thing. The walls can cave in as well. A
lot of pressure.
It's a matter of time. You can even spend, a couple of years and a couple of $100,000 building these Connex box bunkers, and they last 2 years, and then it's caving in on you,
That does not sound like the life you want to live. So sometimes going to the pros is the good answer. But then again, how many times have we seen people like you could get something on AliExpress, and I don't know if it's going to be the
well, there's a couple of
Temu or whatever. You might be able to get a
like
delivered.
reputable companies.
Okay,
so there's Atlas Survival Shelters.
Okay,
USA Bunker Company.
all
Carbon
right.
Structures and Hardened Shelters. That's the 3 companies there, and they're all reputable. But I mean, you're looking to spend like a minimum of $40,000 for like a really basic thing. You know, that's like a 10-foot by 10-foot room. You're not.
So you're saying I should borrow against my 401k and make this happen?
I would say that unless you have like $400,000 to spend, don't bother. You know, you got to build that shit yourself, man. So
I think
one of the
go ahead.
One of the things that one of the things that are used for being underground are those concrete boxes they have for like sewage and rainwater, things like that. They build these big square boxes that are concrete, and you just bury them in the ground.
And I've seen them linked together.
Yeah, like that's exactly what you do. Yep.
Yeah.
So you could build it that way, and those are fairly inexpensive. You got to dig it. You got to level out the ground and everything, get ready for it, and then have them brought in and set in place.
Okay.
But I don't know. It's tricky to build one yourself that's not going to kill you, You don't want it caving in on you while you're in there,
Maybe read a book.
Yeah, maybe read some books.
Watch some YouTube videos. However, this is not the video for your construction advice.
Yeah.
Now, Kevin is actually, you used to be a union carpenter back in the day.
That's right. I built concrete, frames for basements and all sorts of stuff.
Kevin,
there's tricks. I feel like I could build my own bunker with a couple of friends helping me out. But
your union card has expired.
It has expired. I'm no longer a union member. I don't know if all that shit just evaporates out of my brain.
I believe it does. You don't pay. You don't stay.
Pay. You don't get to keep your your knowledge.
Nope.
Now, one of the things, though, I touched on earlier, I want to talk about is the air filtration, right? So we talked about the fans and the filters, but that doesn't really help you against like a poison gas attack. Do you remember in that movie Cloverfield Lane?
Yes.
Whatever the name of that movie was with John Goodman. So that one was a gas attack. Remember, it was aliens with poison gas.
Because they know how to get you. They know how to get you.
So, I mean, he had a system set up where it ran through fish tanks. And if the fish died, you knew to turn the air system off. But the fish didn't die, and they didn't turn the air system off. I don't know, like, if all your fish die and you turn it off, then what? You just
hold your breath.
Fucked? Yeah,
hold your breath, Kevin.
There's so many different types of biological and poison gases that that can be used. That you need a million different types of filters for each scenario, and you can get a filter that will filter out mustard gas, that'll filter out anthrax, that'll filter out anything, but like each one is its own thing, and each one has to have its own setup. So, I mean, there's a lot of carbon filter setups that, they work for a lot of stuff. Obviously, if they can make a gas mask for it, they can use that same filter for an air filtration system. But they're not cheap, man.
No.
You're looking at big bucks for anything that's going
to last, right? That'll do time and stop stuff, right? It's
and
money.
You obviously want to build a bunker. If you're going to invest that much time in it, you want to build, at least 100-year bunker. Not that you're going to be in there 100 years, but
I would rather not.
Yeah, but you want to be in there 50 years from now. Shit goes down. You want to still be able to access it and use it.
Yeah, no, exactly. You want it to last. And that's the thing, is that delicate balance. How do you judge your time, and how do you judge where your money is better spent, right? Like, maybe I should just be buying more long-term food. Maybe I should buy more, more first aid gear. Maybe I just need to buy a lot more guns and ammo. Like, you don't know where the world ends,
Right.
Exactly what's going to happen. And that's the thing. That's like really what prepping comes down to is, assessing the world, looking at all the threats that are out there and deciding what's most likely. And sometimes which one of my dollars can be best spent to cover the most disasters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or, the best long term. And you just slowly get better and better. And that's all we do. That's education, that's making money. You just assess like, hey, where can I put my effort to get me the most of what I want out of life? And maybe that's just spending time with your family and not doing things, Maybe we don't have a TV or the internet or video games or whatever, or a new car, but I get to hang out with my family every day. And maybe that's what's important. I'm just saying there's options out there, Kevin. Or maybe you don't want to be around your family and maybe you're like, I'd rather just be at work and whatever and get away from.
I feel that energy.
I don't know. You gotta pick and choose what's right for you.
No, that's a joke. But I mean, the other option that we haven't talked about is building a safe room.
Yes.
Now, you can do that a lot cheaper than building a bunker.
Now they do call those a coffin sometimes.
Yep. That could be true. But if you think about it and you walk around your house, just shooting guns off.
I love shooting guns off.
It'll go right through all your walls. You know what I mean?
Most of them I would.
You see those movies and stuff where the guy shoots out the window and then ducks behind the wall. Those bullets are going to go right through that wall. It's not going to stop it.
Actually, behind me, this isn't a green screen. This is foot thick right here.
Yeah, so you might be safe.
I might be all right, but I got a lot of windows. The wife's like, we need more light. We need more light. So there's more windows that I'd like to, but go on.
Yeah. But I mean, building a safe room is fairly easy, Your walls right now are probably constructed with, 2x6s, maybe plywood and some drywall. You could take an X-Acto knife and cut a hole and kick through the wall of your house if you wanted to break into some, your own house.
People have these like
battery-powered sawzall cut right through.
People have these fortress doors, and I'm like, they're just going to go to the wall right next to it, like it's nothing. But,
right, exactly. Yeah. So, building your safe room, you want to have some sort of solid barrier. You want to pour some concrete, even cinder blocks or something. When they say concealment and cover, concealment means hiding. Somebody breaks in your house and you hide in a closet. It's not gonna protect you. Yeah. But cover, that's different. Something that you can get behind. Something that's going to stop a bullet. Something that's going to stop somebody trying to kick their way in.
Right.
And you can go from basic to all the way top of the line air filtration systems, dedicated landlines so you can call the police and whatever, everything all the way from a little 4 foot by 4 foot cement block barrier to, all the way in poured concrete and, like I said, air filtration systems, food, water storage, all that sort of stuff. And building a small safe room in your house is probably a good idea. But when it comes to safe rooms and bunkers, you want more than one exit. You know what I mean? You don't want to be the asshole that's, guess I'm just here for the rest of my life, You don't want to be the one that's stuck, trapped inside with a boulder laying in front of your door.
Exactly. One of the things, there's that movie Walking Tall, I think, with The Rock. And I don't know, he's the sheriff in the casino, and I don't know, I think it's called Walking Tall. I don't know what it's called. Mm-hmm. But anyway, they have the trailer and they come back to get him. And he has, he's got the 4x4 and he's the tough guy, like goes in to beat up people. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Anyway, he has the trailer and it has like a little trap door to get underneath. And that's, that's maybe more valuable, being able to have an escape than having the safe thing. I'm just saying, just give yourself options. I mean, I'd prefer both, right? I'd like being able to go to a room where I can be protected from somebody trying to get in, but I'd also like the way out of there.
Right.
Especially if you're involved in the new construction of a house, you can create these hatches and that kind of thing. Now, the cool thing about me living in the South, we have a lot of houses have a crawl space underneath. And people don't usually have basements in the South. Big thing, I think there's a lot of sand and termites, and I don't know, people don't go for that kind of thing here. I don't know what the deal is, why we don't have basements, water table, who knows? Anyway, but you may want to think about some kind of escape hatch as like a crucial thing to your, you need 2 exits. And the thing is, it can't be obvious, the second exit, because if it's a safe room, and they're like, oh, there's another door right over there, I'll just cover this door and that door.
Exactly.
Or, whatever. So you got to plan, right? You got to think a little bit outside the box, but that's what's right.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the guys mentioned in here about a lot of the houses are built with the foam board. They use plywood around the corners of the house, maybe around the door and window, but a lot of it is just foam board. And honestly, you could cut through the siding and the foam board with an X-Acto knife and cut through the drywall, and you're inside. It's not like I don't know. A lot of these houses just don't seem safe to me as far as protecting yourself from other people.
And that's what you think. You're like, oh, well, my house is for protection. Well, is it? Or is it just built to keep the rain out and the air conditioning in? I mean, that's really more the goal.
Yeah.
I mean, it maybe not what the goal should be, but that's where it ends up, right?
Right. So, and you can get a nice cheap house that's built like shit.
I don't know. It's funny. I looked on the internet, and there was a lot of books out there as far as underground bunkers and building. I saw one. It was like $43. It was like underground bunker engineering, and I'm like, ooh, that looks awesome. But they had no pictures. It was just like a great cover. So I have no idea. It could be total crap. And I wasn't going to buy like $10, $50 books.
Yeah. But if you go on Amazon, you can find like $10 books too,
Yeah. And there's a lot of videos on YouTube, but I will say that underground house guy, he did a pretty good job. If you're a do-it-yourselfer and you're like, I'm not spending $300,000, then don't, it's okay.
Yeah.
But you got to find what works for you in your world. And again, it's all the balance of the perfect preps, right? It's a balance of what's right and what's not. You can email us with questions, concerns, show ideas at preppingbadass@gmail.com. I'll put a link to the new Facebook group in the show notes so you guys can, move over and check out that. Otherwise, I would say stay safe, and we will talk to you guys next week.
Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With fishingbooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. Fishingbooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to fishingbooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today.
Hello?
Look what TJ Maxx dragged in.
The Devil Wears Prada 2 is now streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu.
We are digital, we are downloadable, we are streamable.
The fashion event of the year is certified fresh.
Pull yourself together. We have work to do.
Critics say it's smart and witty and the perfect sequel.
That's all.
Get runway ready for The Devil Wears Prada 2 on Disney Plus and Hulu. Rated PG-13.
Close your eyes, exhale, feel your body relax, and let go of whatever you're carrying today.
Well, I'm letting go of the worry that I wouldn't get my new contacts in time for this class. I got them delivered free from 1-800-CONTACTS. Oh my gosh, they're so fast.
And breathe.
Oh, sorry. I almost couldn't breathe when I saw the discount they gave me on my first order. Oh, sorry. Namaste.
Visit 1-800-CONTACTS.com today to save on your first order.
1-800-CONTACTS.